Hello. Thank you, Heather, for having us on your blog today during Rowan's Beltane blog tour. It's very exciting. So I'm going to answer the questions that you sent. The first one is tell us about Rowan of the Wood. Well, Rowan of the Wood is about a boy who finds a magic wand buried in a redwood forest, and inside the wand is trapped a 1,400-year-old wizard. It's a magical adventure tale between the boy and the wizard and how their lives become intertwined. Or inseparable. I won't tell you any more, but we've got wizards and vampires and Celts. So if you love Harry Potter and Twilight, you will love Rowan of the Wood. That's right. Question number 2. What inspired you to write this story? There were so many inspirations. I guess it was like a lifetime of reading, studying the Arthurian legend in British literature, my complete love for like all things Celtic and especially Scottish. Heather. It was a couple years ago. It was after Christmas. I started thinking about what it was that, like these wonderful stories like Harry Potter and the superheroes and The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, all these stories that have just transcended generations and broken down international borders, what they all had in common, what it was that made people interested in them generation after generation. And not only but through the ages. I mean, from like 5 years old to 55 years old to 95 years old. What was it about Batman? What was it about Harry Potter? What was it about these great characters that made people want to read them and pass on to everybody else? And so while thinking about these things, it just kind of popped into my head, the idea of having a kind of a magical superhero whose ultimate alter ego was a little boy. Now, of course, through the creative process, that changed a little bit, but still basically stays the same. There's a whole lot of magic, a whole lot of adventure, and even some tragic love, too. Question 3. Rowan of the Wood is our first published book, and our road to publication was very, very rocky. But let me tell you, not compared to the road after publication, which is even steeper and rockier. But for us, we went through the query process, and we got a whole lot of rejections, like most everybody does. But I didn't want to wait for years to get my story out, so I was going to self-publish. My husband and I, we were going to set up a publishing company and self-publish, because I'd done my own movies that way and so forth. It worked just fine. Fortunately for us, just as we were kind of gearing up for the release, we found an independent publisher here in Austin, and they decided that they would publish the book. They thought it was great, and they were right, because it is great. And it's outsold anyone's expectations. Their highest selling book, and we couldn't be happier about the sales figures. Question 4. How many manuscripts did you write before Rowan of the Wood, and what have you done with them? I haven't written any manuscripts, not like novel manuscripts, before Rowan of the Wood. I've written several screenplays, and they're, taking up hard disk space mostly. I did produce a couple of documentary films, but none of my narrative features were ever made. But hopefully that will change with Rowan of the Wood one day. My husband and co-author, Ethan, he has written another manuscript. He has been working on it for 10 years, so it's still a work in progress, but we hope to see that in print very soon. Question 5. How does it feel to be able to call yourself an author now? It feels really, really great to be able to call myself an author. To be able to look on the bookshelf at Barnes & Nobles and look on Amazon and see my name in print, if we can get the glare off. Christine Rose and Ethan Rose, published author. Not only published author, but award-winning. Oh, yes. Award-winning published authors. Question 6. How was it working with your husband? Did you work out writing as a team? My husband and co-author. And how was it working with this wonderful man? Wonderful. Wonderful, wasn't it?
That's right.
That's right. He's a man of few words, which is why I do all the talking. I'm the loquacious one. So anyway, how was it working with him? It was wonderful. Much like our personal relationship, we kind of balance each other out. His strengths make up for my weaknesses, and my strengths make up for his weaknesses in writing as well as in our relationship. And our writing process, it wasn't like we sat down and composed together. Rowan of the Wood was originally the story idea, the basic plot line was my idea, and so I hammered out a rough draft and handed the manuscript over to him, and he revised it, adding some subplots and characters, etc., into a second draft, handed it back to me, to which I cut out then some of what he did. I'm kidding. and added some more. And then we kind of went back and forth like that until one day we sat down and read it from cover to cover, making little minute changes. And that was kind of, how that's also the same process we're doing along with the sequel. So there's our writing process. It's great fun. Great fun. Question 7. Are there any similarities between you and your main character? The main character is a 12-year-old boy living in the Redwood Forest who's living in foster care. And there really is no similarities between Cullen Knight, which is his name, and me, but there are many similarities between Cullen Knight and my husband Ethan. Because Ethan was also a ward of the court, similar to Cullen, in California, and he grew up in foster care, or more like an orphanage, in the Redwood Forest. Imagine that. He also loved to read, and he found solace in his books and in the forest, and to this day, he carries a book with him wherever he goes, just like Cullen does. He gets his inspiration in the forest, just like Cullen does. So there are actually a lot of similarities between Cullen Knight and Ethan Rose. Question 8. What is the most fun thing you've done to support the publication of your book? Well, our marketing efforts are continuous. So the most fun thing we did was probably making the Geekalicious Gypsy Caravan. It was a lot of work and it was a lot of money, but it is way freaking cool. See, that was a picture of the Geekalicious Gypsy Caravan, and it is badass. Bad freaking ass. So driving around in that is great fun. Also doing Renaissance fairs and Celtic festivals on the weekend, which is like all our YouTube videos, which you could see on the Tuber Rose. Definitely awesome. Question 9. Do you have any other books in the works? Tell us about your work in progress. Actually, we are working on the sequel to Rowan of the Wood, because Rowan is the first in a series of 5 books, and the sequel is called Witch on the Water. And we are finished. We are in polishing mode. It will be published later this year. That's right. Question 10. If you could live in any book, which one would it be and why? I would live in Rowan of the Wood. That's a tough question, because there are a lot of really great books out there. My husband made a very good point. He said you wouldn't want to live in a good book because there's too much going on. See, because I think about things like that too. I mean, yeah, it'd be great to live in Rowan of the Wood, but then, you'd have to deal with being tortured by a vampire. Par exemple. It'd be great to live in The Hobbit too. But then, you'd have to be dealing with like the greatest evil of all time, the all-seeing eye. See, same thing though. Gotta deal with Voldemort. Voldemort, oh Voldemort. But it would be great to play Quidditch. I would have to say, very great to play Quidditch and to be able to do magic. So I'd say Harry Potter. Maybe one of the later ones where Harry is older and more angsty. So that's it. Thank you, Heather, for hosting us on our blog tour and for posting this interview video, which I hope that you and your readers will enjoy. Have a great day.